Hey, my name is Gaia Athena, and in this video I'm bringing you part 5 of my 2020 reading statistics. This graph shows you the ratings of the books. I rate my books in a system between 1 and 10, so this is different than the usual 5-star system, but not that much different. So an 8 becomes 4 stars, a 10 becomes 5 stars, and with the in-between numbers, so a 9 would be a 4.5 stars, but then whether I put it as 4 or as 5 stars on something like Goodreads depends. Yeah, I have to choose. And as you can see, the majority of my reading in 2020 was rated with an 8, 9, or 10. That's pretty common for me. Although I have to admit, I find rating books really difficult, and with this scale out of 10, that's also how school marks are done, and so I've kind of been giving the ratings to books as to how that school mark made me feel, which I realize is not like a quite linear scale, if that makes sense. In my opinion, it's more important what you say about a book in your review or thoughts rather than the actual number. But interestingly, when I look at 2013, about 20% of the books I read were a bit lower rated, and in 2020 that's just under 10%. So maybe I've gotten slightly better at estimating what I like, but somehow in 2014 I gave a lot of 10s to books, apparently. Here we have again the ratings, but then in an absolute scale rather than a percentage scale. And this maybe makes a bit more clear based on the actual amounts. So while I was saying that percentage wise I got more lower rated books in 2013, the actual numbers differ. So yeah. And here is again the ratings out of 10, but yeah, again I thought it'd be just interesting to just briefly show it. And of course 2021 has lots of zeros for now. Then we get to the average rating, which I didn't think was that interesting to include in when I just start looking at my graphs, but having shown the other 3 before this, I thought, well, I shall include it because it indeed seems that my average rating in 2020 is higher than the one in 2013. But then again, the differences over all the years are not that much. I guess it's not that significant. Then we get to the gender of the protagonist. So we have a male protagonist, female protagonist, and then in grey, 2 or more genders protagonists. So this is a book where there's not just one main character, but where there's multiple main characters, and there are at least 2 genders in there. And then in yellow we have other and non-binary, and in blue, in light blue, we have NA or non-applicable. This is, for example, for information books where you don't really have a protagonist as such. Well, and this varies throughout the years. I do feel in 2020 I gravitated more towards reading about female protagonists rather than male, which that does seem to be the case. And all years really I read quite a lot of books also with multiple main characters. Then we get to writing style, and I've been recording this since 2016. So we have a first person, third person, or a combination. A combination is usually in books with multiple points of view, where one point of view is written in first person and the other in third person. It is also a lot of graphic novels and manga, because due to their nature, it's not very... Yeah, you can't really say that they're written in first or third person, except if there's an overall narrative. So yeah. So the amount of combination has actually been increasing because I've been reading a lot of graphic novels and manga the past few years. But it is interesting that third person has been declining quite a bit, whereas first person it is quite a bit more. When I was a kid, actually, I didn't want to read in first person. Um, I was pretty young when this was going on. I was maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 or 9, something like that, and due to how my brain was developing, I guess, I didn't want to read books in first person because then I thought if I'm reading it, then it's happening to me because it says I do this or whatever. But gladly, a while later that changed, and I was able to read first person books as well. And I quite enjoy reading them now. I also enjoy reading third person books. I get burnout quickly from reading like the same series or the same author or the same genre or the same language. Likewise, I also get burnout if I read several books in a row, let's say all with first person or all with third person. I really need to mix it up for myself. Then we get to writing style, but then part 2. This is about past versus present tense and combination. So, in 2016, I read quite a lot of books with past tense and not that many with present tense. A combination has been increasing, whereas past tense has kind of been decreasing percentage-wise. And combination is not only, again, graphic novels and manga, but also books that have both. For example, a book that has a storyline in nowadays, in the present tense, but also has flashbacks. Or a book with 2 storylines, or a book that has some stuff in present tense, but also then refers back to scenes in past tense. Well, stuff like that. So there are a lot of combinations as well. And present tense has, well, sort of stayed a bit similar to what it was. It's increased a bit. And lastly, for this part 3, which I realize is a lot shorter than parts 1 and 2, I divided the graphs into where it would kind of make sense for me to cut it. This graph shows you the debut versus non-debut. So, in my mind, an author can only have one debut book, and that is their first published book, is the one I consider as a debut, and everything they published after that is not a debut. So, in 2020, by the looks of it, I actually read quite a few debut books in comparison to, for example, 2016 or 2019. And then we have non-debut, debut, and also we have combination, which is again like an omnibus or some kind of thing like that. And we have unknown, because it's not always possible for me to find this information out for sure. Now, for well-known English authors, authors who write in English, this is a lot more easy to find. But for example, for lesser well-known Dutch authors or authors from like an earlier time that are not that well known, it can be sometimes difficult to find a list of their bibliography sort of thing. So then I have to classify it as unknown. Anyway, thank you for watching and listening to part 5. Part 6 should be up soon, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!